Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. My name's Phoebe, and today we're going to be talking about the first book in the Eye Candy Ink series by Hart called Atlas. Our main characters are going to be Atlas, who's a tattoo artist at Eye Candy Ink, and Darcy, who owns a landscaping slash nursery in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The story is absolutely wonderful, 100% relatable for me. It so much reminded me of my relationship and how it kind of started with my now husband, in that, it was the first serious relationship for either of the people, immediate attraction, wanting to spend all your time with the other person, kind of moving along fast. So I found it super relatable for myself. And so that's part of why I really wanted to go over this story. Another reason is this book was one of the free books in a giveaway for those with Kindles, etc. And so I just want to give a big thank you for making this book accessible. And so I just really want to spread the love, etc., and go through my thoughts on this book really quick. So we start with Darcy's roommate, Indy, who wants to get a tattoo, wants to go to the best place for her first tattoo. And so she ends up at Eye Candy Ink a couple months in, and she's ready for her appointment, ready to go. She is going to get tattooed by Mishka, who is Atlas's roommate, who also works at Eye Candy Ink as a tattoo artist. And so Atlas is checking in Indy. He noticed Darcy's behind her, feels this connection to her, but he's not really sure what it is. So as soon as Sam comes back in, who normally takes care of the check-in process, he goes back to the room, talks up with Darcy, tries to see if there's something actually there, because he hasn't really felt this connection with anyone else before. And he's feeling it. He really wants to talk to her more, but unfortunately he has to go back to the desk, and he has a client soon, so he's just hoping that, either Indy ends her appointment before he starts with this client, or maybe he can catch her afterwards. But unfortunately, like Cinderella, Darcy's gone before he gets the chance to even get her phone number. So he tries to look her up on social media, tries to look up Indy's information in their system, can't find her anywhere. So he's feeling a little bit depressed, probably a little bit angry at himself, and at the same time, Darcy's can't get Atlas off her mind. And so her best friend, Indy, is like, you should go for it. Like, no matter what, even if you call and you just get this tattoo, it'll be a good story later. And so Darcy agrees. She goes ahead, calls the shop. Atlas is the one working the front desk again. And so he gets her number, signs her up for an after-hours tattoo so he can fit her in as soon as he possibly can. And they're texting each other. They first start talking about the tattoo she wants to get, and then it just moves on to other things and it naturally progresses. And so again, that kind of reminds me of when my husband and I had met. We had met at a recycling program. We were both in college, so we had full schedules and jobs, and so we were just texting and talking as much as we possibly can. Darcy goes and gets her tattoo with Atlas. They really hit it off. They have a date the next day. She kind of addressed during her tattoo session with Atlas that she has these body image issues because she had, a back brace for her scoliosis in high school, and kids were pretty mean to her. She thinks that her body, isn't what an ideal shape should be, and he's like, you're crazy, like, you're gorgeous, like, let's go out, like, let's try this out, let's see where this goes. And so they go out on her date. Darcy's thinking, why are all these people looking at us? And then she's like, no, they're not looking at us, they're looking at Atlas. They're probably seeing how good looking he is. And then she notices, no, they're just being snooty bitches, and they're judging him for his tattoos, etc., etc. And so she's like, doesn't this bother you that people see you this way? And he's like, I'm happy with how I look. What does it matter? And so this attitude kind of rubs off on Darcy as they start the relationship, and it's really good for her. She still has some reservations about the way she looks, but she's feeling a lot better about herself. So her and Atlas are spending as much time with each other as possible. He asks her one night if he can come over for a goodnight kiss, and she says yes. Unplanned, they both have sex for the first time. He has, Prince Albert, and he makes sure to take care of her first, which super appreciated and also probably helped for her first time. She's ecstatic, Indy's ecstatic for her. The guys are all making fun of Atlas because he's going around the shop asking everyone, like, how do you know if that person's the one? And they're like, dude, you're falling too hard, too fast. Like, you need to slow down. And he's like, nope, I already know. I already know she's the one. As soon as she knows it, like, we're going to keep moving ahead. Like, I don't even need to ask any other questions. Super cute. Which is just, yay. Okay, so Darcy, like Atlas, wants to see him as much as possible, but she works early hours and he works till 11 p.m. So they fit in lunches and dinners, etc., as often as they can, dates, nights, things like that on his days off. But she decides, to hell with it. Like, who cares if I'm tired tomorrow morning? I want to go see him. We can go get some drinks as soon as he's done with his shift. So she goes in to surprise Atlas. Sam lets her in, assuming that Atlas knows that she's coming in to see him for the night. She walks back, finds a girl topless, trying to kiss Atlas. She doesn't say anything, she just runs out. She's so sad because she had it in her mind that she was his girlfriend, etc., which is how Atlas saw her, and he did not kiss the girl back. And that happens, but they have a conversation about how flirtatious girls can be in the shop. And so with her image issues, not being super aware of how pushy the women are in the shop, and she just thinks to herself, Atlas can do better, so I'm just going to end this here before I embarrass myself. Atlas is trying to get a hold of her. When he can't get a hold of her, he eventually goes to her apartment, begs Indy to bring Darcy to the door. Darcy comes, tells her what she saw, and she's just like, I don't know if I can do this, let's just go ahead and end this now. They're both devastated. Atlas is just a shell of himself. It gets to the point where Mishka, who's not super into relationships, doesn't really want one himself. Something's happening there. It's in the next book, which I haven't read yet, but I'm thinking I'm definitely going to have to come back to it because there's something there between him and Indy, and I absolutely love Indy as well. So, anywho, Mishka goes and sees Darcy, and he lays it all out for her. Basically says, if you feel anything for Atlas, he's very serious about you, you should go talk to him. So Darcy goes to talk to Atlas. Mix up. So Darcy goes to talk to Indy finally about her relationship. They decide to go to a bar just to kind of get out of their apartment where Darcy's been for, the whole time when she's not at work. And at the bar, they see Atlas and Mishka. The guys haven't seen them yet, so they kind of sit off to the side where they can see the guys. The guys, unless they look at them, aren't going to spot them. Indy's talking very seriously to Darcy about her feelings about the relationship. They're watching the guys, they're seeing girls go up and talk to them, and Atlas keeps brushing them off, and etc. And Indy's like, if this was just about sex, he could take up any of these girls and no problem. This is more than that for him. Darcy finally sees it, goes to make up with Atlas to work things out with them, and it all works out in the end. Now, Darcy did say to Atlas, I believe, that she had a surprise, and since they were having unprotected sex, I totally expected them to be having a baby because, again, Atlas was her first time. They don't really talk about birth control at all, so I had assumed that there was going to be like an accidental baby, but that wasn't the case. They actually don't get pregnant until 5 years later. Instead, Atlas surprises her with a tattoo of her name over his heart. They both agree to move in with each other, and they progress to get married later on in the book. So I can totally, read this book and kind of think back to how things had started with my relationship with my now husband, and I just really enjoyed it. Had, a few tears for Darcy when, she had run out and talked to Atlas. So, it was just great. It was so good. The first the first two chapters really cover character descriptions, how the shop looks, how their apartments look. So as you go through the book, you kind of have something in your mind's eye of how things appear and how their personalities come into play for both Atlas, Darcy, and the other side characters. So that's really nice. The only kind of downside of it is that I went back to the cover later on and I was looking for like the gauges in his ears and like the nipple piercings and things like that. I was expecting to see more tattoos because he has like a half sleeve, the model does, on there, and like a small tattoo on the other shoulder, because I expected him to have, maybe some full sleeves or a neck or something, just because if people were staring at him at the restaurants, I expected him to have more visible tattoos. And unfortunately the model on the cover didn't really have that, but I think that the descriptions were so well laid out within the book that wasn't like an end-all be-all kind of thing. It just didn't really relate to each other as well as it could have. So overall, it was a great book, great series. I would really recommend it. And thank you so much for coming. If you liked the description of the book, please go and read it. Please go read the series, like the video, subscribe, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.